Picture this. It's early 2026, and families across the country are waking up to bills that keep climbing, job hunts that drag on longer, and a sense that the basics, food, rent, a steady paycheck, are slipping out of reach. This isn't hype or spin. It's what real data shows after Donald Trump's return to the White House in January 2025. Let's break it down straight, no sugarcoating. The job market cooled fast. Total new jobs added in 2025 landed at just 181,000 after big downward revisions from initial reports, way below the over 1 million added in 2024. Monthly gains averaged around 15,000, the weakest non-recession year since the early 2000s. Unemployment ticked up to around 4.3 to 4% by late 2025, with some months hitting higher. Sectors like hospitality and construction felt hits from tighter immigration rules, leading to labor shortages and fewer openings. People are competing harder for what's out there, and layoffs in federal agencies added to the unease. Housing stayed brutal for most families. High mortgage rates, still in the 6% range much of the time, kept payments expensive even as they eased a bit later. Homebuilding lagged due to costs, tariffs on materials, and financing headaches. Affordability polls ranked housing near the top of worries, right up there with food and energy. First-time buyers and renters in many areas faced acute stress, with local markets showing little relief despite some national averages improving slightly. Food prices kept squeezing wallets. Groceries rose faster than overall inflation at points, forcing families to cut elsewhere just to eat. Surveys showed widespread trouble affording basics. The long government shutdown in late 2025, 43 days, the longest ever, disrupted SNAP benefits temporarily, sparking lines at food banks and more insecurity for low-income households. Inflation moderated on paper to around 2.4 to 2.7% by early 2026, but essentials like food, housing, and utilities often outran wages. Tariffs on imports jacked up costs for clothing, appliances, building supplies, and more. Studies pegged the average household hit at roughly $1,000, $1,700 extra per year from higher prices, with much of the burden falling on American consumers and businesses, up to 90% pass-through in some analyses. Then came direct hits. Massive federal layoffs early on, especially at places like the USDA, hurt rural support. The record 43-day shutdown from October to November 2025 dragged GDP growth down, knocking about 1% off Q4, furloughed hundreds of thousands, delayed benefits, and rippled into less spending and job security. Bottom line, on the ground, many Americans felt tougher times, slower jobs, persistent high costs, tariff-driven price bumps, and government chaos disrupting lives. Polls showed big majorities worried about prices, jobs, and housing, even as some headline numbers looked steadier. It's a mixed bag with real pain for everyday folks. Trump's economic lies exposed. Elite wins. America suffers. Imagine sitting in your living room, flipping on the TV, and there he is, President Trump at a podium, not the official presidential one, but one set up for a quick press hit on February 19, 2026. He's beaming, charts in hand, declaring the U.S. economy is roaring and better than ever for every American. But as you listen, something feels off. You've got bills piling up, groceries costing more, and job ads scarcer than before. It's like he's describing a different country, one where only the top dogs thrive while the rest of us scrape by. Trump went live, touting massive wins. 172,000 jobs added last week, stock market hitting 53 record highs since his election, rent prices at 4-year lows, and America back with a booming economy. He called it a miracle, saying incomes are rising, inflation defeated, and more people working than ever in our 250-year history. But dig deeper, and it's clear he's painting a picture that shines for the elite, the trillionaires, big investors, and his inner circle, while ignoring the pain hitting everyday folks. He doesn't mention the criminals from January 6 who got pardons or the Epstein files revelations that protect the powerful. To him, we're just game pieces in their monopoly, filling bank accounts with our hard work, taxes, and spending. They couldn't care less if families lose homes to high mortgages or skip meals because food prices stay sky high. What this all boils down to is a disconnect that's hard to ignore. Trump's claims come from cherry-picked stats, but real data tells another story. Job growth in 2025 was a weak 181,000 total, the lowest non-recession year since 2002, with unemployment up to 4.3%. GDP grew just 2.2%, slowed by tariffs that added $1,700 extra costs per household. Polls show 59% disapprove of his economic handling, and 60% say the country's worse off than a year ago. Affordability for housing, food, and basics remains a crisis for many, especially with government shutdowns disrupting benefits. It's not lies outright, but misleading spins that favor the rich. Stock gains help investors, not the average worker whose wages lag behind costs. This highlights how policies like tariffs and cuts benefit the top, leaving the rest as pawns in a game where the house always wins. I want you all to understand how much I do appreciate you. Thank you very much for listening. Please follow me, hit the bell, or subscribe to keep up with my posts. Bless you all and please stay safe. Love always. Maria D.C. Santiago.